Welcome back to When Bad Things Happen to Good People, a podcast about censorship and the arts. My name is Todd Sullivan. With me, as always, is Oren Barter.
That's this guy right here.
And today we are talking about the 1972 Bernardo Bertolucci film, The Last Tango in Paris.
Should we have tango music over this?
I'm realizing now, I think I was wrong. I think it's just Last Tango in Paris and there's no the.
Okay, now I gotta check.
That's embarrassing.
It is Last Tango in Paris. Yeah, there is no the.
That's all right. Just, give me shit about it now.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to point out, Todd, that there is no the in the name of this film. It's just Last Tango in Paris. The only
you need to push up your glasses when you do that. Excuse me, Mr. Sullivan. Excuse me, Mr. Sullivan. There's no the in the title. It's just Last Tango.
So it is Last Tango in Paris. The only reason I know that is because you just told me prior to me telling you. But I felt like I would take this opportunity to appear superior intellectually.
Well done.
So there's that.
Should always take those opportunities. How you doing, Oren?
God, I
Is that a complicated question?
I just can't seem to catch up with anything ever.
Yeah.
Although I did have a doctor's appointment, which I've been meaning to do for a long time. My doctor's office has been only open until noon. I usually take my lunch at 1:30, 2 o'clock when I'm at work. So I haven't really had the chance to book an appointment. Anytime I've tried to call, the line has been busy, or it's just rang and rang and rang with no answering service. So I finally managed to book an appointment, and I had that. Only problem was I booked the appointment for the day after my last day at my previous job, which turned out to be the first day of my new job. When they found out what my last day was, they're like, "Oh, well, we're going to schedule you for training immediately after." And I was like, "Okay, cool."
Awfully nice of them.
They're like, "Can you be in at 9:30?" I was like, "I don't know. I got a doctor's appointment at 9. I guess we'll see." So I showed up late for my training. I looked a little disheveled, and the guy that
what did the doctor do to you to make you look so disheveled?
No, it was that was all on me, I gotta say.
Okay.
I'd love to place blame on somebody else, but I just can't.
Okay.
So I showed up late for my training shift, which I did explain to them prior why.
Mm-hmm.
So but then it's a training shift. I just came off I don't know how many months of just feels like 7 days a week of either working or I'm doing other stuff. And this poor kid, he gets me to train, and I'm just out of it. And I guess he's not a kid. But I didn't make the best first impression on my trainer yesterday. I think I kind of stepped it up a little bit today. So I'm hoping, let's start low and just work up from there.
Yeah, if you can get those expectations set as low as possible while also keeping your job, that's a good, I think, entry point into a particular place of employment, so that you set those expectations too high and then you got to work super hard.
I don't want to fly in as a hero and be like, I'm going to save this place. And then one day be like, oh man, I don't know, I just can't make it in today. And they're like, well, you would have done it before.
Typical.
Yeah. No, it's good. So I had a couple of days of training. I'm working at a liquor store, which is pretty different from what I was doing before. What I was doing before was very different from what I was doing before that. So I'm hoping this job's going to be a little less stressful, a little less, brain power dominant. And it's going to allow me to think about all the other stuff that I have going on in my life while I'm at work. That would be great if I could if I could do that.
And hopefully it will allow you to bring some interesting drinks to the conversation.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's going on with me. What's going on with you?
Not a whole lot. I was drawn back to the Surplus Herbies electronics blowout once again today. It's my third time there.
Okay.
This time it was mostly because I regretted not getting and I guess to explain what that is, there's a store here that's kind of like, army surplus stuff and camping supplies. And every once in a while they'll get a shipment of stuff that was like in a warehouse that like was burning down or something, or, it's just a bunch of stuff they have to, they bought and have to get rid of at discounted prices. And so they had a ton of electronic stuff in their business. And I've been there a couple of times I've picked up a 34-inch ultra-wide monitor, a microphone for my cell phone, just a bunch of things. And I went back today. I wanted to get one of those ring lights for like selfie stuff.
Oh,
because
okay.
I've been thinking about getting into doing more Twitch streaming and stuff, and being able to have a well lit face cam on a Twitch stream, I think would be good.
World
and then I
needs
also,
more Todd. World
while I was
needs
there,
more Todd. Telling
Sorry?
you. I said the world needs more Todd. I hope you got that. Did you actually get it?
I did get it. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And it's a pretty good one too. It folds. It can go as high as like 5 feet, and can fold down to like, if everything folds down to like one little ring that you can store super easily. So it seems like a pretty good one.
Okay.
But when I was there, I also found a charging kit for my Xbox controllers. So basically, you, instead of having batteries in there, you put this little battery pack in, and it's got a different back cover for where the battery goes. That's got a little open spot. So you just put the controller down on the charging thing, and it charges while you're not playing it. And I'm not going to have to buy batteries anymore. And that is mind-blowing, because I go through so many batteries on those controllers all the time. And so that was, I think, probably the real game changer purchase today. And I didn't even go for that specifically, but okay. I'm excited. All right, let's talk about this movie. Not The Last Tango in Paris, but Last Tango in Paris. Before we do, I would like to point out that we talked last time when we did Necromantic, which was a German film about going and getting German beer, which I didn't have a chance to do. Yep. So I went and got a French beer today, which is this...
It would have been funny if you would have went and got a German beer for today.
It would have been funny, eh? This is called Kronenbourg 1664 Blanc, which is a flavored wheat beer with a hint of citrus. And it's not bad.
Okay. I'm currently drinking a hazy IPA, or a hazy state. I'm not sure what that means. A hazy state session IPA. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is the Amplified Voices. And I'm not sure what brewery this is. Collective Arts Brewing Limited from Hamilton, Ontario. It's pretty good. I also went and bought some Stella Artois, which I believe is en français. I'm not 100% sure on that. Belgium? That doesn't sound French. Do they speak French in Belgium?
No, I think they might speak French in Belgium, but it's not France.
It's definitely not France.
Yeah.
But you know what?
I mean, we didn't watch Last Tango in Belgium, I should point out.
This is close enough.
Okay.
This is as close as I get.
Okay. I don't get any closer to France than Belgium. That's just a personal rule.
Actually, I would love to go to France.
I would too. I've been learning French on Duolingo.
Ooh, oui, oui, oui.
Oui, oui, oui. Je m'appelle Todd. Je suis le chien.
Le chien?
Yeah.
Qu'est est le chien?
As I said, my name is Todd, and I am a dog.
Oh.
Yeah.
Woof, woof.
Okay, so Last Tango in Paris, directed and I think written by Bernardo Bertolucci. This and The Last Emperor, I think, are probably his best known films.
Okay.
This obviously in part because of the controversy it garnered. Specifically, it got things kind of controversial in Bologna, Italy, London, England, Cincinnati, Ohio, and of course Manitoba and Nova Scotia, Canada.
I thought it was Newfoundland that always did it. Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia. Well, it's always like the Maritimes,
right?
Maritimes.
Yeah.
Specifically, so this is from what was the site again? It was like
Wikipedia.
No, this was like I found this site that was like censorship wiki, and it was like, oh man, I gotta bookmark this shit. Last Tango in Paris is described in two different ways. Those who oppose the film's obscenity have called it obscene content offensive to public decency, characterized by an exasperating pansexualism for its own end, presented with obsessive indulgence, catering to the lower instincts of the libido, dominated by the idea of stirring, unchecked appetites for sexual pleasure, permeated by scurrilious language.
That person needs to get laid.
Others have called it the most powerful erotic movie ever made.
Oh. Is there a middle of the road?
Maybe. I feel like I'm in the middle of the road on this picture, but we'll get there.
I mean, I don't know if it's like the most erotic thing I've ever seen.
The most powerful erotic movie ever made. It doesn't say the most erotic. It says the most powerful erotic movie.
Yeah.
Still not sure I'm there, but I got mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, it was
So anyway, it was initially attempted to be banned in Bologna in 1972. And this is the other thing. Last week we did a film that was released on the year that you were gestating in your mother's womb.
Yes.
And this week we're doing one that was released when I was gestating in my mother's womb. I was born in 1973. This film was released in 1972. The first attempt to censor The Last Tango in Paris, why do I keep putting the in there?
You know what? Because it just sounds better. We're changing the name.
No.
We're getting, who did this? I'm going to call
Bernardo Bertolucci, who's an Italian.
Bernardo, you must change the name of your movie.
Maybe we should have gotten Italian beer.
Into the last thing. We should have.
So Last Tango in Paris, the first attempt at censorship was brought by a private prosecutor in Bologna in 1972. However, the Bologna Court of Appeals banned, confiscated, and destroyed copies of the film. Bertolucci, the film's producer, Albert Grimaldi, Marlon Brando, and Maria Schneider were arrested, received 2-month prison sentences, and fined 30,000 lire. The case was retried several times between 1972 and 1976. Prosecutors argued that the work should not be protected as a work of art. The courts agreed, and the ban stood.
And this was in Bologna.
This was in Bologna. As has become a recurring segment, Oren, would you like to describe this film in 1 or 2 sentences for us?
Oh my God. Okay, so 1 or 2 sentences. Can I do 3? I think I might need 3 for this one.
Let's see. I'll go 3. Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Maybe. I'll see if I need it. Young woman and older man going through some shit, run into each other in an awkward sexual way, start a kind of extrapersonal sexual relationship with each other, which obviously that always works.
Mm-hmm.
They develop feelings for each other in this weird kind of playful, but sometimes overly... God, yeah, no, it's hard to explain.
Yeah. As an elevator pitch, you've already lost me. I've gotten off the elevator. I've lost you.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So 2 people meet. They have, I think good, but mostly weird, sometimes questionably sensual or consensual sex. And then she shoots him. And he dies.
There you go. Long story short, she kills him. Yeah,
Spoiler
so this
alerts.
Is... Sorry?
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. This is a movie that's been on my to-watch list for a really long time. It's frequently making lists of like the most controversial films of all time and blah, 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 blah. And of course, I've long been attracted to stuff like that, which is why this podcast exists. And so I'm glad to have finally gotten a chance to watch it. This is Marlon Brando, I think, in maybe one of his last roles before he started kind of inflating.
What's inflating?
Like getting bigger.
Oh.
Fatter.
Gaining weight.
Gaining weight, yeah. And he's really good. I mean, everybody in this, I think, is pretty great. Mm-hmm. The woman, Maria Schneider, was only in, and really? I thought she was really good in it as well.
She was really good. I thought she was better than Marlon Brando, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, at times for sure. But I mean, I think Marlon Brando was giving off this kind of, like, the character when they're together has this kind of dismissive quality where, like, from a performance, you could almost feel like he's phoning it in, that he's not really there. But that's the character, that he's just kind of.
Yeah, that's true. But then also when you see the vulnerability of the characters, I think that it was more believable with her character than it was with his.
Yeah.
When he does break down, So I thought she was really good.
Yeah, totally. So basically, yeah, it opens with these two characters, Paul and Jean, in Paris, and they kind of cross paths on the street very early on without kind of knowing each other.
Oh, I didn't. We
see Paul, that's Brando, walking down the street, and he's clearly, well, it actually opens with him like underneath a train, his hands clamped over his ears, screaming. And then he continues sort of walking, and it's clear that he's really broken up about something. He's been crying, has tears on his face. And then this young woman sort of runs past him, and then we follow her for a while. And that's Jean. And she's looking for an apartment in Paris. And so she finds this spot that's got a sign out front saying there's apartments for rent. So she goes in, has a long exchange with the woman who runs the place about, like, is there a key? The woman can't find the key. Then anyway, she gets a key and goes up and looks in the apartment, and stumbles upon Brando, who's already there. And I was a little, I don't know, I was shocked that she wasn't more shocked at the fact that there was a dude already in the apartment, just lurking in the darkness, sitting on the radiator or whatever. But I guess at that point, it wasn't her apartment. She was just having a look at it, and she's like, "Oh, you're here having a look at it too." And so they both kind of, they both have a wander about the apartment and to look at it, and there is a weird kind of tension between them. I guess it's a sexual tension because, eventually
of what happens
they
next.
They just kind of bang on the floor of this kind of dingy, kind of gross apartment. I had a note here that, like, I was trying to break down the story of the film, and it's like, it's your traditional boy meets girl, boy fucks girl in a shitty Paris apartment. Boy and girl share apartment now, I guess.
But they don't share names.
So
no names.
I think he ends up kind of renting the apartment. And she comes back to, like, give him the key that she has. And he's like, you don't have to do that. And basically sets the situation where this is their tryst space. This is where they can come and connect to, like, just fuck. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he doesn't want to have any kind of, he wants their relationship to only exist within that space. He doesn't want to know her name. He doesn't want to know her history. He doesn't want to know anything about her. Everything outside of those walls is meaningless when they're within those walls. They're the only two people in the world. There's actually a fun scene where they kind of give themselves new names, right? And he gives himself a name which is just a bunch of grunting noises. Yeah. And then she gives herself a name.
And she's like,
yeah. And I thought that was an interesting idea. These two people in this space just kind of having fun defining who they are to each other, separate from who they are in the rest of the world. Because certainly they each exist differently when they're outside the apartment. Mm-hmm. As the story goes on, we do get to find out more and more about who they are outside of their apartment space. We find out that Brando's wife has recently killed herself. We also find out that his wife, before killing herself, was cheating on him with at least one guy. And I mean, I'm not saying that there's implications that there were more than one, but you also have to consider if there's one, there could be more. Mm-hmm. Whereas Gene is engaged to this filmmaker who, that whole thing seemed very 21st century. Like, this guy seemed to be making a documentary about their relationship. And
yeah, that was very much like we're Instagram.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like
this. You know what? So Nikita and I actually went to look at some waterfalls down in Clearwater. We got some pictures of the waterfalls. We never got any pictures of ourselves because we were looking pretty disheveled.
Well, you'd be bad Instagram influencers then, wouldn't you?
We would be terrible Instagram influencers. But while we were there, we did see an Instagram and or some other social media platform like influencer. She was walking around very like on purpose, butt protrude walk, and her boyfriend was walking behind her with the camera out, just like being her cameraman, just doing a thing. And then they like stopped and she like did this weird like hair flip butt out thing. And it was so fucking weird to see in person. It was so awkward. They did not look like they were enjoying the scenery at all. It was more about like, you know, how can I flip my hair right so when we do a slow-mo on this, it's gonna look sick as fuck. I didn't like it. It was weird. I liked mine and Nikita's experience better, where we just walked around, took pictures of the actual things we were there to look at. I like that.
I think, I mean, I would probably fail as an Instagram influencer as well, because I think even if I was putting myself in there, I would want to be natural about it.
You got a badonk, just show it off. I gotta
shake what my mama gave me or whatever.
Sorry, Todd's mom. I respect you.
No, it's fine. She gave it to me. Or maybe it's my dad's genes. I don't know. They're probably more my mom's genes than my dad's genes, but but yeah, so they both have this kind of life going on outside of the apartment, but they're neither of them, I mean, particularly Brando, Paul, who's dealing with the death of his wife and her affair. He's not having a good time. But at the same time, she doesn't seem to be terribly satisfied in her engagement to this guy. And I think that's part of what keeps drawing her back to the apartment, in spite of the fact that Paul is not always treating her super great.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting because like he flip-flops from treating her, you know, like they have this kind of almost childlike experience with each other where they're just super open. They're not worried about really anything. They're there in the moment. They're playful. They're having fun. And then it just seems to flip. And it gets, you know, just weird is the best word I can come up with. Like it just gets the power, all of a sudden there's a power dynamic. So when they're playful, there doesn't seem to be any power dynamic. Like they're both equally in this space, equally exploring each other and themselves. And then all of a sudden he flips a switch and he's like, this is my space. You are in my space. You are mine.
I think to an extent, some of that comes from, I felt like he was trying to get back at his wife for her affair. And I guess to an extent for her suicide as well, to be like, you know, okay, you can fuck some dude. Well, I'm going to fuck this chick and I don't really care about her. And so any time that sort of that intimacy level was increasing and she was being too nice to him or too emotional or too, you know, loving, he's pushing back. And at the same time, I think it also had to do with how fresh and raw his pain is from this last woman that he loved and not wanting to fall in love with or have those kind of feelings for someone else, because that's dangerous, because you can get hurt. Whereas I think she was definitely trying to start something with him because she really didn't want to marry her fiance.
Yeah, because she definitely had her, like, you could tell when that dude was, like, her fiance was there when they met the first time on screen, when they're kissing, and he's got cameras everywhere, and she's like, oh, you only kissed me for the cameras, kind of a thing, right? And so I think that she probably questioned his involvement in their relationship, and she says something in the film which kind of stuck with me. She said, I'm tired of being raped. But she didn't say it in the sense of sexual rape explicitly. She felt that she was being raped by his cameras. Like, she was being followed around. Right. She was being turned into something. She was being used for something. Right?
Is that in the scene when they were on either sides of the subway?
Either side of the train. Yeah, either sides of the subway.
I think that's in that scene. She was trying to end their relationship, and he just wouldn't give up. And
then they had like a fist fight.
Yeah, they
afterwards?
had a fist fight, and then they were like making out as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
Because that happens, I guess.
No, I can't say that's ever happened to me.
But I guess, maybe to some extent she didn't feel as confident in the future of that relationship with Paul to commit 100% to that. So, as much as he's trying to like push this guy away, if he's not going to go without like some struggle, she's maybe going to stick around. But let's talk a little bit more about what goes on in that apartment when they're there, and specifically some of the sex stuff that courts the controversy that we're here to talk about. I think sort of the first and biggest controversial scene is an anal rape that happens. That there's some. Okay, so it's basically what happens is Brando's in the apartment. He's on.
Is that the butter scene?
Yeah. So Brando's laying on the ground when she comes by the apartment. He's eating cheese and bread, as you do in France, and she comes in, I think just for a minute, and he's like, "There's some butter in the kitchen. Go get the butter." And she's like, "I don't have much time. I got to do this and this and this." And he's like, "Get the butter." And so she brings him the butter, and then he starts talking about some shit, and then he pulls off her pants and greases up her anal region and rapes her there on the floor.
I never got the anal part. I never felt that from that scene.
Okay, well, that is the general consensus about the film.
Okay.
Now, so that's the scene that really gets cited a lot in the controversy, in part because the actress claimed that scene wasn't in the script. And at 19, she wasn't old enough to understand that she couldn't be made to shoot a scene that wasn't in the script. That the director can't just go, "Aha, we're doing this scene now that you have no idea was going to happen when you signed on to this, and you have to do it." She didn't know that was a thing.
Jesus.
Now, other stories have come out that the rape was in the script, but it was Brando's idea to do the get the butter thing, blah, 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 blah. Either way, this 19-year-old girl, no matter how you look at it, had this moment sprung on her in a way that was different from what she was expecting. And by all accounts, her reaction there with the, crying and everything else, that was legitimate.
Jesus.
So that sucks. That sucks.
Fuck.
That is, I'm going to say, maybe something that directors thought that they could get away with in the 1970s. I know, like, for example, on The Exorcist, to keep the actors kind of tense on the stage or on the whatever at all times. William Friedkin had a gun filled with blanks, and he would occasionally just shoot them off randomly just to make people jump and keep them on edge. Which is it's a fucking cruel way to treat your actors. Granted, maybe you are getting a more naturalistic performance out of them, but fucking treat your actors.
Just get better actors.
Treat your actors like people, okay?
Yeah, no shit.
Or go the Team America World Police route and just don't hire actors, do it all with puppets.
Yeah.
So anyway, that scene.
Okay, so that makes that scene so much worse. I mean, it was bad to start with, obviously.
Yeah. And then the other one, which I think was their last time together, is the one that kind of came out of the blue for me, which is where Brando is like, I want you to clip your fingernails and then put your 2 fingers in my asshole.
Yeah.
And then
it got
weirder. And I actually typed this all up.
Okay, so we're gonna actually let's do the same thing you did for Dave when he cited what was it, the sex shop or. And now Todd Sullivan recites. Okay, wait, what are we calling this?
Put your fingers up my ass.
Okay.
By Marlon Brando.
By Marlon Brando. And now Todd Sullivan recites the "Put your fingers up my ass" scene from Last Tango in Paris, spoken by Marlon Brando.
I want you to put your fingers up my ass. Put your fingers up my ass. Are you deaf? Go on. I'm going to get a pig, and I'm going to have the pig fuck you. And I want the pig to vomit in your face. And I want you to swallow the vomit. Are you going to do that for me? I want the pig to die while you're fucking him. Then you'll have to go behind him. I want you to smell the dying farts of the pig. Are you going to do all of that for me? And she did kind of like enthusiastically agree to do all that. So, I mean, that's true love, right?
No.
I mean, I think, you know what? I'm not kidding. I think
that is a power dynamic.
No, I disagree. I think it is. I think in that moment, Brando is trying to push her away. I think he's trying to create the most disgusting, nauseating thing he can think of to push her away. And she won't go. She won't go. She's like, no, I will do this. I will do this. I will do that for you. And I think that's why that after that, he cleans out the apartment and leaves, because he can't deal with, at that time, that level of commitment or connection from her.
Okay, that's an interesting take in it. I took it more of because his wife was, I mean, now that I've watched the whole movie and I understood the scene, because like when I think it was before this, that he talks with another guy that was staying at the hotel.
Marcel, I think, right?
Marcel, yeah, they were wearing the same, outfit. They had the same robe on, obviously the hotel robe. And, they're talking. He's like, hey, how do you stay so fit? The guy's like, I do this. And then he leaves and he's like, honestly, I don't know what she saw in you.
And yeah, right, Marcel was the one guy that we know of that Brando's wife was cheating on.
Yeah. So I thought the whole pig analogy was more of just how he felt about Marcel. Marcel was a pig. Marcel was gross. Marcel was disgusting. Marcel deserved to die. I thought that was him actually being vulnerable and opening up to her. I actually thought the opposite of that scene.
See, I would say, even looking at it in that way, I would argue that it was Brando who felt like the pig, that he is feeling worthless from his wife's affair and from his wife's suicide, from his wife abandoning him by choosing to die, and that he's the pig. Okay.
I'm going to counterpoint that I think the character of, it was Paul, right? That was his name? Yeah. The character of Paul actually had a sexual attraction towards swine, and that everything he said was...
Okay, now you're just making shit up.
No, I'm just making shit up. Yeah, that's, I mean, there's definitely, yeah, how do you take that? Like, there was so much packed in such a short amount of time. And, you know, as much as things were already in this movie, even their first sexual encounter was like, you know, it was, I want to say odd, but odd's not really the good word. It was intense. It was just,
but it was also, it was like a pull and push moment too, right? Like they had kind of danced around each other this whole time while they're browsing the apartment, and then finally they connect, they fuck like mad, and then when they're done,
can we talk? Yeah. Can we talk about how she rolls around after an orgasm? She just rolls. She'll roll.
Well, I wanted to get to the rolling because it wasn't just the fact that she was rolling. It felt to me like she was actively trying to get away from him at the end of it, even though she had been enthusiastically involved. There's that feeling of regret where it's like, now that it's done, she just wants to get away. Right? And that was my take on at least.
But she also did that when she masturbated on the bed. She masturbated, she finished, then she rolled away while he was crying in the other room.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I guess she just likes to roll after she comes.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's definitely different ways to take that. I don't really know what the director's idea was there.
So after the pig fart fuck vomit scene, Paul vacates the apartment, pulls all the stuff out, and Jean does not know where he's gone. The lady downstairs doesn't have any sort of forwarding address or information. Like, she just has nothing on any of the guests in this particular apartment. She doesn't know anything.
She just laughs at it. She's like,
I don't know. What do you think? I didn't know anything at the beginning of the movie. Why do you think I'm going to know anything now? And so she kind of goes back to her fiance. The fiance kind of says, I'm going to marry you next week. She tries to convince her fiance to move into the Gunji apartment. And I feel like that's just like she's trying to cling to those memories that she had there. But her fiance is like, nope, this place Gunji, man, fuck off. I'm gonna go find something else.
No, I don't think that's how that really went.
Oh. Why don't you tell me how it really went?
I think, like, okay, so she was distraught because he left. So she, you know, she's crying on the phone. She calls her fiance. She's like, I found a place. You got to come look at it. You know, they show up, and like, let's look back a little bit on the time that they had spent in that place. Like I said, there was, you know, that the butter scene, fucking awful. A couple other things, but like there was a lot of like playfulness, a lot of her feeling free, not trapped, you know, a lot of joy that they had together, goofing around, just kind of being open and being themselves.
Oh, so you think that she
brings...
Sorry, I should just let you say.
That's okay. So she brings her fiance in because now this other guy's out of the picture. She's told him that she loves him, and he has just packed up and gone. And so she brings her fiance there, I think, kind of to just, yeah, try to have that same connection with him. And he doesn't give it. He briefly gives it. She starts flying around the apartment. He's like, oh, this place is huge. It's too big for us. And she's like flying around like she's in an airplane. And he's doing his like video thing. He's like, oh, I got you in the shot. I got you in the shot. And they're goofing around. And she's like, she's happy and she's feeling it. And then the guy's like, oh, you know, like this isn't how adults act. Like, we need to act like adults. And I think that's when he killed the mood, right? Like,
well, and even at the end of that scene, when he says like he's leaving to look for other apartments, they shake hands like adults. Like, there's no passionate kiss. There's none of any of that.
Right. So yeah, because there's no cameras. So when there's cameras there, he's willing to be passionate. He's willing to be romantic. He's willing to be everything. Camera's gone. He shakes her fucking hand. Yeah.
But still, there is a point where she decides, this is my life. This is the direction I'm going. Because sometime later, she's walking down the street and Paul comes prancing up to her and is like, hey, it's me. Remember me? The guy who abandoned you?
Yep.
And she's like, whatever. And he wants am I correct in remembering that he wants to take her out somewhere?
Yeah, so he starts, they start walking. He starts actually telling her his life story, tells her his name. He kind of opens up about all the things that she's been asking for so long. And he takes her to a tango club. Which
I thought was interesting because when all this time I thought Last Tango in Paris was kind of referring to like tango being these sexual relationships that they're having. And the last tango would refer to the last sexual connection that they had. I was literally not expecting there to be a literal tango.
A tango.
Not just a tango, but in fact a last tango of the evening in this bar where there's a tango contest going on.
Which does happen to be the last tango of his life.
It was spoilers.
We already told him that
didn't say there weren't going to be more tangos, though.
Oh, sorry. That may or may not be the last tango in Paris.
So yeah, they head up to this bar where there's this tango contest going on. He talks a lot about how this is the sort of place he would have taken a woman 2 years back, and da-da-da-da-da. He's like buying her a bunch of drinks, champagne, scotch. She doesn't really seem into being there. Again, because I think in her mind she's moved on, and now he's in this position of I'm now ready to move on myself from my dead wife and embrace what you were offering me earlier. So they're pretty drunk by the end of the evening, and at a certain point she's just done with it. And she's like, sayonara, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, no, you didn't.
But they've had that dance before. They've had that dance before where she's been like, yeah, and then she's right back.
Well,
she's back
I guess if you want to try to justify his asinine behavior.
No, I'm not trying to justify him at all. I'm just saying, like, I get how the climax comes to pass. Is all I'm saying.
Okay, all right, fair. So anyway, so she leaves, and he's having none of that. So he follows her all the way back to now. I think it was the apartment that she had with, was that her mom?
Yeah, I don't know. That was weird because I like when they went into the elevator, I assumed she was heading to the apartment that they were
The elevator looked exactly the same, like this weird, tiny elevator that's really built for one person and maybe two if you're like really friendly with each other. And I just maybe that's a common elevator style in Paris in the 1970s.
Right.
Because
and then when they walk into the apartment, it's a completely different fucking apartment.
So she's taking the elevator, and Brando is chasing her up the stairs, and she gets into the apartment, tries to like close the door on him. Actually, she can't even get the door open. He's like right there on her, and she goes to try to like bang on a door to get help. She finally gets into her apartment, but Brando won't let her close the door on him. So like he pushes his way into the apartment. He is still trying. And she pulls this gun that gets brought up earlier in the film, which we didn't mention. This is not just a gun that shows up in the third act. It is properly set up as Chekhov would have you do. And she shoots him. And he's like, oh, well then. And then kind of stumbles out onto the deck to die.
Sticks his gum...
Right, yeah, well, you don't want to die with gum in your mouth. It's the same thing as, like, you don't want to go to you got to wear clean underwear in case you go to the hospital. So you also don't want to die with gum in your mouth, because That's gross.
Right.
And then she's.
So I would like. Okay. So like, I just want to clarify the comment that I made earlier, and because I feel like it may come out in poor taste, because I understand like how the whole thing started, but then as it escalated, like the longer that he went on chasing her and the more she was like, no, get away from me. And like the door scene, like it just escalated and escalated and escalated and escalated. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I don't know.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fair. And I do kind of want to get back to that once I wrap up the end of the movie. Okay. And there's like literally, she's just shot him. The final moments of the film, she's just standing there and she's telling herself, no, I don't know his name. He broke in. He tried to rape me. And she's trying to, I think she's trying to reset in her mind their relationship to an extent. She's trying to erase the fact that he did tell her his name. He did tell her about his wife. Yeah. He did reveal all these things that were unspoken during their time in the apartment. And in doing that, she is also prepping herself to what she's going to tell the police.
Talk to the police. Yeah. She's just killed a man. Yeah.
And that's the end of the film.
And can we talk about the very end of the film for just a second?
Yeah, I guess. What am I missing?
Oh, I thought you would just be like, fine. Because it wasn't Finn.
Oh, fine.
Fine.
That's true. But I guess maybe that's Italian or French or...
I don't
Fine.
know, yeah. I thought French was Finn. I thought French was Finn. Fin. But it was like, yeah, the movie ends and it's black screen and it's just like, fine. That's how I.
Man, the wild thing about watching some of these older films is that the entirety of the credits play at the beginning of the movie. And then the end is just like, it's over and it's the Metro Golden Mayer Lion and it's done. There's no credits at all.
Done. That's because everybody's ready to leave, right? They're like, we gotta introduce everybody at the beginning because at the end they're just gonna fuck off.
And it's so the opposite now. Like there's so many films, like the MCU films, I think famously do this, where they don't even give you the title at the beginning. They just start, boom, movie's going all the way to the end. We're not even going to tell you what this movie's called until it's over. So you better know what you're watching.
It's like you've got the fucking tickets down. Right? You know what you're watching.
Meanwhile, in like 1972, it's like you're sitting through, oh yeah, great. Who was the key grip on this? I'm so fascinated.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe it's that films back then didn't have as many crew members that needed to be included in the credits because they were just smaller productions.
Right.
And now, again,
like a big production, if you would have spent as much time on each individual person as they did in this movie, I think you would have a movie that was probably twice as long.
Yeah.
Half credits, half movie.
So, apparently this film started with this idea that this fantasy that Bertolucci had of this woman. He saw this woman, probably some young woman, and he had this fantasy about what it would be like to just take her to an apartment somewhere and fuck her without having any idea what her name was, what her past was, anything else.
Okay.
And as a male, I can understand that kind of fantasy. That's an exciting fantasy. I think Paris would be, kind of an optimum place to do it. Paris just seems like the kind of place that you go and meet people and fuck them without knowing their name.
Okay.
But there's still, this film is teeming with toxic masculinity in a way that makes it really hard to watch in the 21st century. And this is where my middle of the road on those two sides come in, because there's a lot I liked in this film. And yet it's hard to, and that's, again, I think that comes up especially in the end there when he's chasing her down. It's this whole I'm ready for a relationship now, so you better fucking be ready too. Toxic masculinity. Yep. And I guess you could say that the film isn't encouraging that because he does get fucking shot at the end.
And also, his wife dies. She commits suicide. I don't know if we even discussed that.
I mean, it came up, but I don't know if it's fair to include that in the discussion about toxic masculinity because we don't know why she killed herself.
Right. Okay. That's fair. Yeah. Yeah. No. Definitely. Like. It's yeah. Like you say, it's not so far one way, so far the other. Like in this movie. Clearly, he was a toxic masculine man in pretty much every sense of the word.
Well, I don't know if that was the case in his relationship with his wife, but in every way that we see him interacting with Jean, definitely toxic.
Yeah.
You don't rape your friends and. No. Ask them if they'll fuck pigs. I mean, I guess that's okay. This is a question. You don't make them fuck pigs, I guess is what I'm saying, which he didn't do anyway. Sorry.
Right.
That was a weird.
Yeah, but like you say, like not only the fact that he dies, but like also like this character, clearly he's been alone for a large portion of his life. He met a woman, not Jean, his wife. They married, but she still was unfaithful to him. Like he it's not like he was just this manly man who everything was great and everything went exactly how he wanted it. I think that, I don't know if that was if that was on purpose, but it felt like they painted this man as a man's man and they kind of showed how that is just that whole ideal just falls apart.
Maybe, but at the same time, there are, I think, early on in the film, those elements where, this old-fashioned idea, which I think history has shown is based somewhat in truth, that the way to get a woman to fall in love with you is to be kind of a dickhead. The assholes get the chicks, and so he's an asshole.
Right.
And through most of the film, that works in his relationship with her, and those are the moments where the toxic masculinity really kind of stands out to me. That the portrayal of the fact that he's treating her this way, and it's working. She is falling in love with him, and it's only after she's sort of said, "That's it, I'm done," and he's like, "No, wait." That the toxic masculinity ends up with a bullet in his gut or wherever it went. So, any final thoughts on the film or moments, scenes that you think are important we haven't talked about?
Yeah, this movie was awkward at moments. It was weird. It was there were moments where it felt sexually liberating. Mm-hmm. There were moments where it felt, sexually toxic. Mm-hmm. For sure. And I'm still, after watching it, not 100% sure, where the writer and the director, because it was written and directed, I believe, by Bortolucci.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I still can't say 100% if I understand what he was trying to convey after watching it. It definitely had some powerful moments. The ending was unexpected for me, just the way it came about. It wasn't bad. It was pretty good. There was some good performances. It was well paced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was well shot.
Yeah, good looking movie.
It was well put together. I definitely I can see how it's controversial though. Absolutely. But yeah, I wish I better understood. I mean, I wasn't around in the 70s, like I was born in 88. I don't really think I understand the actual, what would you say? Just the overarching thought process of the time,
the zeitgeist of that decade.
Yeah, and I kind of would like to, and I might do this. I don't know if I've done this with any other film, but I might actually look into some, like what the writer has to say about this film, how he defends it, what he was trying to get across.
Mm-hmm.
Was he trying to get across that, consent was, or is very important? Was that?
I don't think that was on the table, but
it's. But when you watch it through the glass of today, like that's the number one thing in this movie is consent, right? So yeah, it was interesting. It was well made. Yeah. I don't know. I give it.
Where are you gonna go with this one? I know what I'm doing if you don't do it first.
I give it 3.5 hairy Parisian vaginas out of 5.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna go with 4 sticks of butter out of 5.
Oh God, no.
I took it. This is like as far as the story goes, it's like these two people that connect at kind of the wrong time in order to sort of create a relationship, and instead they do create something that's intense and volatile and pleasurable, but also toxic. And that toxic ends up playing out in kind of the most toxic way it can. I think this is, for myself, one of my favorite films that we have covered on this podcast. And I'm glad, knowing that this has been on my list of things to see for a really long time, I am super glad that I found a way to work it into what we were doing, and just glad to have.
And also, happy birthday!
Laid my eyes on it.
Or happy gestation.
Happy gestation year. Yeah, my birthday's not till August, so it's still a ways off.
My birthday's in 3 days. Well, I mean, when is this coming out? It might come out on my birthday.
Sunday? Yeah. Well, it's 2 days from now.
Okay, so it's coming out on my birthday.
Is your birthday the 13th or the 14th?
14th.
Yeah, okay, so it'll be the day after this. Well, happy early or belated birthday, depending on when someone's listening to this.
When it gets out, yeah.
And,
maybe I just won't master it on Sunday. I'll master it on Monday, and I'll send it on my birthday.
No, please don't. We missed an episode that we were late last week. Let's try to get this one out on time for a change, eh?
Okay.
And we're going to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary next week. On Monday night, we're going to be doing a live episode at 7 p.m. June 21st. In the past, we've done those lives on Sunday, but we got to juggle some things around because Oren's schedule is a little more limited now that he's got a different job. But we figure 7 o'clock, you've finished dinner, maybe you got a cocktail in hand, you can listen to us, and we've got no particular subject in mind for that episode beyond looking back at where we've been and looking ahead to where we're going. And we would love to have as many people listening and, more importantly, calling in as possible. Does that something make sense? I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. If you can, if you would like to call in, what you need to do is download the Podbean app. I don't know if you have to create an account. I think you might. So the app's going to be on your phone. You do need a headset, so that would be something that you can plug into the phone that would have speakers and a microphone.
Or, if you got wireless earbuds or something like that, that'll,
or wireless
Bluetooth
earbuds.
Things, that'll connect, yeah.
Anything that's got, it just has to have an output and an input. And you can call in and you can talk with us live on Monday the 21st and tell us anything that any thoughts that you had about any previous things that we've talked about, anything that you'd like us to cover in the future, or if you just want to say hi and give us a thank you for doing what we do. Or you can say hi and say like, hey, you guys suck. But I hope you don't.
And if you don't want to talk, there's a chat room there as well. You can say hi in the chat if you're shy and don't want to talk. I might buy some cake for the day because it's our anniversary. We should maybe agree in advance on like a kind of cake that we can each buy, and then we can kind of like it's like we're sharing a cake together.
Why don't I just come down? If I don't have to call in for work, if I don't have to be
that makes sense. I was thinking originally. I was thinking that you might be here because you've been in town like every weekend, but now your job is got a different schedule, I guess. So, if you're here, we could legit
I'll be in on the 21st.
All right. Well, cool.
We'll buy an ice cream cake.
All right then.
You like ice cream?
I do like ice cream cake. Nice. You'll have to bring it home with you, though, because that's a lot of cake for me to have here as a diabetic.
Okay.
All right. I guess that wraps everything up, eh?
I think so.
If you want to know more about us, find our social network connections, find ways to support us on Patreon or buy me a coffee, you can do all of that at our website at blahblahblahmedia.com. That's BLAHBLAH media.com. I don't think I had too many blahs in there, I hope.
No, that was good.
Beyond that, my name's Todd Sullivan.
My name is Oren Barter.
You've been listening to When Bad Things Happen to Good People, and until we meet again, I suggest you go read a fucking book.
Or watch a controversial movie.